Okay, so what do you want to rant about, King?
Well, I just mentioned it, sort of. Cleveland Indians.
Oh boy,
Oh man, I'm hot.
you're hot.
I am steamed over this.
Okay, well, I know you and I have talked about this, on the phone
You live in
privately.
Cleveland. You live in Cleveland. You know
Hmm.
what goes on up there. I've been a lifelong Cleveland Indians fan since my family moved up there in 1957, and we lived up there for 8 years. And I became a diehard Indians and Browns fan, and have remained one ever since. And now, just this past week, just a couple of days ago, they made the announcement that they are doing away with Chief Wahoo, the
Yep.
little Indian logo that we've known since 1947. He was a logo 2 years before I was even born, and all this time, and now he's racist.
Yep. So now he's gonna. This is his last year. 2019 is when they'll get rid of it on the uniforms. It'll still be available for purchase.
Oh, wait a minute. What do you mean it'll still be available for purchase? Is that what they're saying in Cleveland?
Yeah, you'll be
You
able.
mean even after 2019, they'll make merchandise, shirts, and hats with Chief Wahoo's the logo on it?
It won't be available. I think souvenirs. It'll be on souvenirs, but it won't be on the MLB website, and it's only going to be available to people in Northeast Ohio, like the Northeast Ohio stores, like Lids, who make hats. I think third-party shops they can still sell Chief Wahoo. The licensing for Chief Wahoo, but it won't be on the uniforms or any kind of.
So we've seen the
banners.
last. Is the logo of Chief Wahoo going to be on the uniform this year?
Yeah, this is the last year for it.
And that's the last time we'll see his little smiling face. And
So you're hot. You're hot about that.
I'm very upset. I mean, I've told everybody before. That's one of the reasons that I voted for Donald Trump was just the one time he said somewhere when he was running, he said, we don't have time for all this political correctness. And I said, that is the truest statement I've ever heard. This political correctness crap that's going on in the world today, everything is going to offend somebody. But now we're so sensitive to offending anybody that it's just become ridiculous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And this is like, to me, the epitome of that. I mean, a logo that's been around since 1947, a little cartoon character offends enough people that a Major League Baseball team is going to remove it, do away with it, ban it forever, just because it offends a few people.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Anyway.
It's been obviously it's part of my childhood, and I only wear Chief Wahoo memorabilia, and I think this will I wouldn't say backfire, but I think you'll see more people in the coming years wear Chief Wahoo, and I think everybody will buy it off the shelves because people want to have that Chief Wahoo shirt or hat or any kind of thing that had the Chief Wahoo logo on it. So I think you'll see more people wear Chief Wahoo, especially this year, and also I think next year too, and the years beyond that too. I'm not a fan of the block C. I've never been a fan of that. So it's going to be, I think you're going to see more people with Chief Wahoo. I don't think it's going to, be fading out as people would think that with fans.
Yeah, we went.
Excuse me. It's got you all choked up, King. This whole subject got you choked up.
I know. Well, I'm sorry. I really do. I get upset over this. I mean, we went through a similar situation. Of course, we're here in Memphis, Tennessee. I think a few weeks ago you saw this going on when you were down here. For I don't know 100 years or so, there more than 100 years, I guess. There's been no, it hadn't been there that long, but anyway, it's been there a long time. There's two parks in Memphis, Tennessee, and they both not housed, but it featured prominently in the middle of the park, were statues. One was a big statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest, who was a Confederate general in the Civil War. And then there was another one downtown, but this particular park was called Confederate Park. So, it's like for years now, they've been wanting to change the name and get rid of the name Confederate Park, just, do away with that part of history. And they did that. They changed the name a few years ago, but then up until just recently, the statue of Nathan Bedford Forrest remained there, mainly because it's actually a gravesite. Nathan Bedford Forrest and his wife are actually buried beneath that statue. But still, a portion of the people here in Memphis, were adamant about getting rid of the statue. And so they did some kind of fluky thing where the city of Memphis sold the park itself, sold the land and the park to some hastily created organization. They sold this big entire park for $1,000 without any advertising, without telling anybody they were going to do it. They did it in the evening after courts had closed and everything. They sold the park to some individual for $1,000, and then that individual immediately that night had crews come out and remove the statue, because then it was his own private property and he could do anything he wanted to with it. So then they removed the statues, which they've been complaining about for years, and all of that sort of thing. And of course, I mean, there really was not that big an uproar over it like I thought it was going to be. But I just wanted to say to all of those people that said they were offended by the statue, now it's been gone here in Memphis for a month or so, or maybe a little more than that. And I want to ask them, how has that changed your life? How has that made your life better? I mean, we still wake up every morning here and turn on the TV and find out how many people have been murdered or what the crime rate is and all this, because nothing has changed about the city. And what I want to ask the people, that were all upset about Chief Wahoo, next year after he's gone, how is that going to change your life? How is that going to make your life better?
Hey, how about we help the veterans who are homeless after fighting for our country? How about we help those people out rather than worrying about a logo for a baseball team?
Right, exactly. Anyway, there's my rant, and I got that off my chest. And I'm like you, though. I'll be wearing my Chief Wahoo. And somebody, what did you say that somebody said that now if you continue to wear merchandise with Chief Wahoo on it, then they'll know you're a racist?
Yeah, that was, there was a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people who are upset that they're going to take away Chief Wahoo. I would say it's over 80% of the people. But this is even goes for issues in the country today. The silent majority of people, who are in the 80%, they just don't speak it because they're afraid of the backlash for it. But if you wear a Chief Wahoo hat now, they'll label you as a racist because you support a racist logo.
Right. Well,
which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I thought people who are compassionate and care about people, they wouldn't label people like that if they didn't know who they are.
Exactly.
I don't get that. But I'm with you, King.
How
does that change lives?
Like you said, right. How is that going to change anybody's life after Chief Wahoo's gone? It's not going to make anybody's life better. It's not going to make any changes in anything. It's just, attention grabbing for these people that do this kind of thing.
And if you don't like it, don't watch an Indians game. If you don't like it, don't go to that park. If you don't like a show, you don't want a movie, I don't watch the movie or show. I'm not going to go make a petition to cancel it. I'm just not going to watch it. So I know a lot of people are probably upset. Well, not a lot of people. I'm sure we'll get a few hate tweets from people who listen to the podcast that disagree with our opinion. And I mean, for me, King, I'm not sure what you're going to say, but I say to those people, if you don't like it, don't listen to the podcast anymore.
There you go. I agree. Everybody's got their opinion, and those people whose opinion is, their opinion is if you wear Chief Wahoo logo after next year, then you're a racist. Well, that's their opinion. But you know what? My opinion is that Chief Wahoo is not racist, and my opinion is just as important as their opinion. So they're like noses. Everybody's got one.
Everybody got one, and we have the right to wear whatever we want to wear.
Right. Thank goodness.
That's why we live in the country that people have fought for, preserving our freedom. And they have their opinion. They are, they can say whatever they want to say, but we can also say if you want to tweet at us and say that you disagree, well, don't listen to the podcast anymore. See you later.
Right.
So, well, all right, King. Any final words before we wrap it up? I know you plugged your appearances.
No, I can't think of anything else.
Go Chief Wahoo.
Nah, I'm just looking on Facebook right now, and I see here's the first thing that pops up is from Fox News, and it's the Fox News talking about the Cleveland Indians logo, which had been in use since 1947, has been deemed racist and offensive by critics, and the Cleveland Indians will abandon Chief Wahoo logo next year.
You know, as a kid, I used to go to opening day, and I would have my dad would call my school and say, "Oh, Glenn has Indian fever, and he won't be coming in today." But I would be going down the opening day because it was always, during a school day in the afternoon. And I remember, always walking to the ballpark, there would be a group of, 10 to 15 Chief Wahoo protesters, and every year that group did not grow. It was always just a handful,
Right.
10 people there.
Attention getters, just out there for attention.
Yeah, and that's what I always remember. And I always just remember, every year it seemed not to grow.
Do you remember, the old Indians ballpark down on Lake Erie there, the old municipal stadium? Do you remember the sign of the Cleveland Indian of Chief Wahoo, and it showed, had his whole body, and he's holding the bat, swinging the bat, and everything.
Yeah.
Man, wonder where that sign is.
That sign is actually, I think it's in either a brewery or it's in a museum. It's preserved. It lights up still.
Oh,
it's actually. I'll find out and send you a text about it. But it's actually still functioning, and they still show it off. So.
And that was one of the. I have an Indians hat that has that that design, that logo on it, on the front of it, of him, him swinging the bat. That's so cool. I used to love to drive by the stadium or drive up to the stadium and see that Chief Wahoo sign.
During the baseball year, at my parents' house when I was growing up, we had a wood painted carve out of Chief Wahoo's face. We had a smiling one, the one that you always known to see. But we also had a frowning Chief Wahoo. And my job in the morning was to change. If the Indians won the previous day, we kept up the smiling Chief Wahoo. If the Indians lost the previous day, we would put in the frowning Chief Wahoo. So if you drove past our house, the last game Indians play, if they won or not, just by the wood carve out in the window of Chief Wahoo. So, yeah,
well, that's one of the things. The Plain Dealer, for years and like 30 years before Chief Wahoo came into existence, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, which is the Cleveland newspaper there, that's what they would do every day. They had an artist a cartoonist that would draw a little picture of an Indian, and he would depict every morning. You'd look at the front page, and that's how you would know what the Indians had done. They'd either have him, smiling or waving his tomahawk, or have him frowning, or whatever. And he would do a different cartoon for the outcome of each game during the baseball season. And that predated Chief Wahoo by 30 years. But just. Anyway, we've talked enough about that.
If they would change the name Indians, because that's next, what people are going to try to change. If they go to Cleveland something else, will you still be a fan of Cleveland baseball or no?
Ooh, if they're no longer called the Indians?
Yeah, if they're called something else.
Well, that's like when the Browns, the team moved to Baltimore. No, I did not become a Baltimore fan. And I waited till the Browns got to come back to Cleveland. If they just changed the name but kept the team there in Cleveland, I don't know. My loyalties is Northeast Ohio, because that's where, as a kid, I spent 8 years up there and fell in love with that part of the country. So I don't know. And like you said, that's going to come next. But I mean, they haven't been able to change the name of the Washington Redskins. And if you talk, I mean, that would be much more offensive than a team being called the Indians, because even Indians refer to themselves as Indians. That can't be offensive.
Or Native Americans.
No, they say Indians. Mm-hmm. They say you're a Cherokee Indian.
No, I agree. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. No, I totally agree. But I remember a lot of media was like, well, we're not going to say Redskins in our coverage. We're going to say Washington. Well, that didn't last long.
No.
So, well, we'll see.
I don't think they'll do away with the name.
All right, we talked about a lot of different topics on this week's show. King had his well, I think his first official rant on the show. I was like,
You think that's my first rant?
why legit hot rant? I would think so. I mean, you get little tangents here and there, but not like a full rant about something.